Here we have a brilliant device, again, almost 40 years ago. Look at the input and output. Tested over and over again, 0.3.
This is real, usable power. It's stable. It is not transient. It is not noise. And it is not any other kind of spurious effect. This is a real effect. It's all coming from that little tiny box sitting behind the 500 watts of power. Behind the lamps, that little box is putting out all of that power, well over 500 watts, and yet it is receiving less than 1/3 of a milliwatt of input power. This is April the 30th, 1987, at about 10:30 p.m. in the home of...
He was shot at once with a silenced rifle from about 300 yards. The only thing saved his life was he was an old guy and very feeble. He was stumbling as he coming up the steps and he fell down. He just flat fell down on the steps, caught his foot and fell right forward. And as his head went forward, the bullet went right by where his head was.
We're putting in 31.2 microamperes of current. We're putting in approximately 10 volts for the input. And so it's very easy to calculate the fact that there's less than 1 milliwatt, actually down around 1/3 of a milliwatt or so, of power actually going in to power the fan and the 500 watt of lamps brilliantly lit. You see that we're putting out 500 watts of actual measured power. Okay, coming on over. The power factor shows 1 as it will in a resistive load, and of course a single phase circuit. You can see now the amperes on this meter being put out by the machine is very clearly. Let's give a read on that. We're putting out 4.6 amperes of current. 4.7, a little more precisely, 4.7 amperes of current. And so that is the output current. All of that, the entire output, is being taken from the energy of the vacuum, output by the device, and the grid signal to do that is less than 1/3 of a milliwatt.
This guy called me up. He said, we really need your help. And I said, the only way you're going to do this is that you disclose it, all of it, open source it, get it out there. I will see that we get it out to the entire scientific community. He says, no. It's Gollum, my precious. And I said, dude, you're going to take this to your grave. He took it to his grave. Yep, it's gone.
This very distraught lady, who's Sparky's wife, she's saying Sparky's dead. And that she said 2 strange men, she called them strange men, showed up at about 5 o'clock the night before. And they stayed for a little while, and then they left. And Sparky, an hour or 2 later, having a cup of coffee and just killed over onto the floor, called the ambulance, and she was 75 years old. They would not let her in the ambulance. And the ambulance then called her back about 20 minutes later and said, we don't think he's going to make it. And that was the end of that until the next morning when she called my sister-in-law and talked to her and said, there are men here that said they're FBI, and they got black vans, and they're taking all this equipment. What should I do?
We have testimony from someone who worked with him that we just filmed last month here in LA. They were going to attach, he was working with General Motors, he could attach it to an electric motor, 300 horsepower. It's a pretty strong electric motor. And by the way, electric motors, horsepower for horsepower, have more kick than a gas one if you've driven electric cars. And that's when the unbelievable attempts on his life, threats. There were photographs taken inside his house. He didn't see how those people got in there. His materials were confiscated. And unfortunately, even Lieutenant Colonel Bearden, who worked in this area for years and has been on my team for years, he never would disclose to anyone how this really worked. He took it to his grave. How many times does this have to happen?
So we have a 120-volt fan. As you can see, it's turning at good power. It is providing quite a breeze, and it's real, usable power. Now we'll turn around, and here, just coming into view, you see 5 100-watt lamps, ordinary garden variety household lamps, brilliantly lit. So there's 500 watts of very real power here, again coming right out of the vacuum. And you see the assembly of very large meters and show you the kind of power amplification that is being achieved by the Vacuum Triode.